Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Girls Who Like Hoops podcast.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Girls Like Hoops podcast. I'm Tori. I hope you guys are having a great week. I really didn't know if this episode was gonna happen because I lost my voice or started to lose my voice yesterday night, and I didn't know if I would be able to come on here and record. I'm gonna try to keep it 50 minutes. That's the goal. I'm gonna try to keep it 50 minutes to an hour because I really don't think that I need to be talking for that long. But yeah, I did want to come on here. There wasn't an episode last week because I just felt like my analysis wasn't that good. And also, the night, I think it was Thursday morning, it was Thursday at 3 a.m. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Thursday. I've completely forgot about the podcast. And then at that point, it was kind of just I didn't think I was going to give my best stuff. So I was like, we might as well just not. And we'll try to be better next week. So I was really worked hard this week to make sure that I watched all the games and had great analysis. And so when I realized I was losing my voice, I was low-key devastated. But yeah, anyways, I do want to thank you guys again so much for watching and listening. The week before last week, the last episode I posted, I didn't feel like it was my best either. So it was I didn't want to stack up bad episodes. So yeah, but anyways, I do appreciate you guys listening and supporting. And I'm sorry if you hear some sniffles throughout the episode. I'm sick as well. So, anyways, but I did want to, do a little bit of housekeeping. The social media thing, very conflicting right now. My links to my profiles and everything are in the link tree below, but social media is in a really weird space right now. Especially TikTok, which is the platform that I use the most and where I've grown a lot of my community. And I think a US buyer bought it, and now it's a really sketchy thing. And I think for me, I'm not gonna be run off of a platform. I'm gonna say what I want when I want to say it. And, if I lose an account or something because of, speaking up for things that I believe in, or, you know, talking about things that are important to me, then, so be it. It is what it is. But also, it does take a lot of time and put a lot of effort into building these platforms. So, I'm kind of just playing it by ear, figuring it out. I would be honest, I'm not really in the headspace or in the mood to be trying to build up a new platform, which is why I'm not really looking to move to a new platform right now. And then with the lives and everything, I don't know. I'm just thinking about a lot of things and restructuring some stuff in my life. And but I'm gonna let you guys know stuff as it as time goes. But I do appreciate you guys for, again supporting me here, and please do subscribe, share it with your friends if they're interested in getting into women's basketball or something, or share it with people who enjoy Unrivaled and everything like that. Lastly, before we get into the basketball, I did want to come on here and talk about what's going on in Minnesota with ICE and with this Trump administration in the country right now. You know, I think that I have, and I hope that other people have, a lot of emotions about what's happening right now. I'm not going to tell you what to feel or what to think, but I will say that if you are someone who supports the Trump administration, who thinks what ICE is doing to immigrants in this country, whether they're legal status or not, this is just not the place for you. It's not the platform for you. I'm somebody who really draws a hard line in the sand about the things that I believe in. Because when I was in school, history was my favorite subject. When people talk about we need to learn about history or we're going to be doomed to repeat it, or, reading books in school, in literature class about, the Holocaust, or just anything about marginalized communities and learning about, other people's perspectives on how they've lived in the world previously and also how they're living in the world now. I think it's important to amplify those voices, and it's important for us to learn, important information and everything. And this is just like a really bad time in America right now. And I won't like lie. I'm nervous about like where we're going next. And at the same time, it's kind of like you don't want to get like too stuck in this idea that things can or won't get better, because I don't really think that like, you know, I don't think that it helps the situation to kind of be stuck in that headspace. But I will say that I 100% think that what's happening in Minnesota and with ICE and with the Trump administration in this country is wrong, and I'm against it. And I will continue to speak out and use my platform, no matter how small or how large or whatever. But I hope that everybody wants to get educated on the situation. I'm going to be linking some articles down below and everything. So if you're interested in hearing more about it and learning more about it, please do that. And also, like, I'm always like available somewhere on some type of social media to have conversations. And I think that it's important that we do have conversations and have dialogue. But I think for me personally, right now, this is just something that doesn't need to have dialogue. This is wrong. Hard stop. And we should be talking about that, and we should be acknowledging that. And there's nothing more to be said about it outside of condemning it. I think that I want to believe that it's easy to like turn your back on this stuff and to not speak out or to not use your platform or to not acknowledge what's happening in America right now. But I think that that's like bullshit. When people say like, oh, like it's hard to speak out, it's not. You either believe that these things are wrong or you don't. And I will say that I don't think that everybody's role in making the world a better place is the same. I don't think that everybody, has the courage to be on the front lines and to be protesters. But, like the bare minimum is to speak out and call things what they are. Which is, to me personally, I feel like these are injustices and this is just wrong. And our rights are being infringed upon. And if we're not going to have the courage to speak up now, it's going to be too late later. So, I hope that everybody in Minnesota is staying safe. I'm probably going to talk on my other podcast about like this topic in general and my thoughts and opinions. But I did want to come on here and address that because I do have a platform. And again, no matter how small or large it is, I think it's important for us to use our voices. So, anyways, let's get into the basketball. Starting on Friday, we had Miss versus Rose. The Miss beat the Rose 89-71. I felt like Stewie had started strong and aggressive at the beginning of the game. The Miss coach really wanted Veronica Burton to pick Chelsea up full court and force pressure on her. And I feel like that was good. That was helpful. It was a great game plan. Chelsea really struggled this game. And, I think that was, I don't really know if I think that like 100% was because of the defense, but I do think that it did play a factor. So I'm going to let them have it. In the first quarter, Enrique started off well on both ends of the floor, and I really liked her attacking the rim and not settling for shots outside or, in the mid-range, just really attacking the paint. I like that from Enrique, and I hope that she continues doing that and keeps developing her game further in that way. I also think that Enrique, like, I feel like I'm seeing some good stuff from her right now. And I'm really hoping that, we're not going to talk about like the WNBA and the CBA because I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know what's going on there. Like there's a lot of moving parts. I'm hearing the word on the street is allegedly that the WNBPA had submitted a proposal like a month ago, and the WNBA like owners and stuff have not gotten back to them. So, I'm not gonna lie, I am hoping that they strike. I'll be really honest, like I think these players deserve this money and we deserve to know what's going on in them damn books, because I know for a fact Kathy's over there pushing them books. She doing something funky in them damn books. Okay, Kathy, I'm on your ass. I'm on your ass, like I always been. As soon as you put that New York City skyline dress on, I knew that I had to stay clocked in for work. Anyways, but I'm hoping that they figure this out, but at the same time, it's like I really want the players to, get the things that they deserve and that the previous players before them have deserved. So I'm hoping things work out, but if they don't, I don't, it's not the end of the world. We've lived on without basketball. You know what I'm saying? But good luck to them. But I do think Enrique is looking really great right now in Unrivaled. And I'm hoping that this translates to her game in 5-on-5. And I think that she'd be a really great pickup for a team coming up. I'm sorry, I'm trying to record in 10-minute intervals. That way I can kind of give myself a break here and there. But I fear the voice is going to be squeaky and cracked. But y'all should know that I'm just dedicated to the cause. That's really all that you should take from this, is that I'm so dedicated to y'all that I showed up here today. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, back to the basketball. The Miss did well, forcing turnovers. And I really liked Lee Yuru guarding Shakira. She made all of her shots tough and she was able to stay with her. Like, her lateral quickness is really great. So I really enjoyed watching this game and I enjoyed that matchup for the time that we saw it on the floor. At the half, the Mists were up 53-35. They shot 60% from the field. The Mists were up 14 at the start of the fourth, and the Rose just kind of struggled to shoot from the three. The Mists did a good job of being and staying aggressive throughout the game and never really letting the Rose players get too comfortable, which I think a lot of times is what other teams kind of fail to do. But the Mists were just a bit more efficient from the field. They shot 57% to the Rose's 50%. The Miss shot the three better, 12 to the Rose's 4, and they beat them on the boards 33-24. For the Miss, their starters were Veronica Burton, Aliyah Gray, and Brianna Stewart. Aliyah Gray had 28 points, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, and was 10 of 19 from the field and 5 of 11 from the three. Enrique had 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, was 8 of 12 from the field, and 3 of 4 from the three. Brianna Stewart had 19 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 9 of 13 from the field. And Veronica Burton had 15 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists. For the Rose, their starters were Kalia Copper, Chelsea Gray, and Azari Stevens, and there was no Lexi Hole this game. A lot of people kind of pointed to Lexi not being there as a reason they kind of lost the game on the defensive end, which that can be fair. That can be fair, but I feel like she's also played more limited minutes since she came back. And, that game, it wasn't like I don't know. Give me like a week and I'm going to come back to that note. Anyways, Shakira Austin had 29 points, 10 rebounds, was 12 of 20 from the field. Kalia Copper had 22 points, 3 rebounds, was 9 of 18 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. And Chelsea had 16 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, and was 6 of 15 from the field. Sorry, I had to get a cough drop. I still don't think that's going to make it better, but fingers crossed. Anyways, next we had Phantom versus Vinyl. The Phantom beat the Vinyl 78-69. Oh, the notes are... I wrote them down. Okay. Oh, actually, first let's talk about the foul for this game. Everybody was on Twitter, on Threads, talking about the Aliyah Boston and Brittney Griner foul. Specifically the one where BG's hand had kind of like caught Aliyah's face. Here's the thing. Later on, the next day, somebody got on Threads and was like, Brittney Griner, you're jealous of Aliyah Boston, which that was like a weird thing to say anyways, because actually, we don't know these people. Like, at the end of the day, that's what a lot of this comes down to. Like, we don't know these people, and so for you to sit there and be like, somebody's jealous of somebody else, like, first of all, it was one, never that serious. Secondly, we know that AB be throwing elbows in the WNBA, and because of that, she got beef with some of the bigs. Like, that's just the situation. That's the reality of the situation. That's just good basketball. You know what I'm saying? I kind of hate that people are always kind of like nitpicking everything. If anything, like, this just makes, like, knowing that the Vinyl versus Phantom games are always going to be a little bit more, chippy, a little bit more competitive. And even when they see each other in the WNBA, like, that's going to be an even better matchup. It's going to be special. don't know why y'all gotta go out and ruin everything. Like, it's really not that serious. And honestly, like, a lot of people are like, they don't like each other. Again, we don't know these people. And even if they don't, who cares? Like, if two men's players didn't like each other, nobody would be making a big deal. Like, it's really not that serious. But I did want to talk about that foul. And I thought it was just fun, good hoops. I just like competition. So I'm perfectly fine with it. Play on. Anyways, for the Phantom versus Vinyl game, I felt like AB did a good job of staying aggressive on both ends of the floor. Her and BG fouled out of the game later on, but I felt like the Vinyl did well putting together some good possessions to close the deficit at the half. I think they went on a 15-3 run. Ryan Howard and Dearica Hamby really helped get the team back into it. In the second half, the Vinyl forced Aliyah Boston to take more threes, and they kind of sagged off of her. And in here, I have AB and BG, very physical, 4 fouls for AB at the end of the third, and 5 fouls for Brittney Griner at the end of the third. And then going into the fourth, the score was 66-59. I felt like the Phantom had a balanced game. Most of their players had double digits going into the fourth quarter. And then Kiki came in after AB, and Tiffany Hayes fouled out, I believe, as well, and helped get them the win. So it was nice. It was a nice balanced game for the Phantom. And I think the Vinyl, they just have to kind of figure some things out. They kind of need a little bit more help from Erica and Courtney offensively. But I think if they're able to get some help from them consistently, I think that they can definitely win some games. For the Phantom, the starters were Aliyah Boston, Tiffany Hayes, and Kelsey Plum. Aliyah Boston had 21 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 8 of 17 from the field. Kelsey Plum had 18 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 7 of 18 from the field. Kiki hit the game winner and had 15 points, 7 rebounds, and was 7 of 13 from the field. Tiffany Hayes had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, was 4 of 9 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. And Natasha Cloud had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 5 of 8 from the field. For the Vinyl, their starters were Dearica Hamby, Ryan Howard, and Courtney Williams. Dearica had 26 points, 6 rebounds, was 7 of 12 from the field. Ryan Howard had 20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 8 of 17 from the field. Brittney Griner had 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and was 4 of 6 from the field. Erica Wheeler had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and was 2 of 6 from the field. Courtney had 4 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and was 2 of 6 from the field. I'm interested to see Courtney and Erica in the upcoming weeks, just because I think they're just a very interesting duo to me, because they have similar play styles, and I've noticed that they kind of struggle at the same times. So I'm interested to see, or one of them will play really well and the other one will play not as well. So I'm interested to see how Coach Spoon is kind of able to kind of get the guards going, because outside of Ryan, there's not a ton that they get offensively from Erica and Courtney. Erica played a lot better later on this week, but Courtney's still kind of in a lull. So I'm interested to see what happens there. On Saturday, we had Owls versus Breeze. The Breeze beat the Owls 75-68. Malonga dominated in the first quarter, first dunk of the season in her first dunk in game. I really liked Paige facilitating early in the first half of the quarter, and then looking for her shot a bit in the second half. And then from there on, the Owls did well staying in it for as long as they could. And then the Breeze just kind of, took it. For the Owls, their starters were Rebecca Allen, Aliyah Edwards, Marina Mayberry. Aliyah Edwards gave you 23 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 9 of 13 from the field. Marina had 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and was 7 of 19 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3. Skylar Diggins gave you 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. The rest of the team combined for 10 points, 4 rebounds, and was 4 of 9 from the field. I'll say this right now, because actually, I'm going to say meaner things in the next Owls game. Y'all need to figure it out. Those 3 that I combined for the rest of the team, y'all need to figure it out and you need to do it quickly, okay? I'm not even going to lie to you. I hate watching basketball like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. So figure that out is all I'm going to say right now. For the Breeze, the starters were Paige, Rikia, and Dominique Malonga. Paige gave you 28 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and was 10 of 17 from the field. Dominique Malonga gave you 21 points, 8 rebounds, and was 9 of 16 from the field. Cameron Brink gave you 12 points and 6 rebounds. Rikia gave you 10 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. I really liked the game from those 4. Really strong 4 there. I like that. Again, the young guns kind of coming in and handling business. Next, we have Laces versus Hive. Laces beat the Hive 70-52. They started the game on a 20-8 run. The Hive never stood a chance. They never stood a chance. Damn, man. Damn. They started the game on a 20-8 run. Okay? The Hive never stood a chance, man. The Laces second unit was really strong and just honestly outplayed the entirety of the Hive team. The Hive wanted to get out and play with pace, but again, I felt that Sanaya should have been playing more minutes, especially against a high-scoring team like them, because her and Sonia would have been able to, at least like apply a good amount of defensive pressure. But I don't know what the coach got going on, but we're going to talk more about the coach in the next game that they had. I really liked the Laces letting Naz Hillman get the game winner. It was very important leadership-wise, and of course the commentators mentioned that, which was, I felt like a very great point, so I decided to add it in my analysis as well. But the Hive were just 4 of 18 from the 3. I really hate their reliance on the 3, and I hope that changes in the upcoming weeks. At that point, you just need to get in the paint. You need to start getting fouls. We need to be doing something else, something more productive on offense. But I'm going to let that sit for now. For the Hive, again, I have it in my notes. I think what really bothers me about this team is the insistence on the 3 sometimes. And, them kind of not wanting to move away from it. And usually it's because I understand why they do it, because they get put in these deficits where it's you gotta shoot the 3, but it's also sometimes that's not, it just makes it worse. Sometimes it makes it worse, especially against a high scoring team like this. But what I liked about the Laces, they didn't shoot the 3 well either, but their willingness to recognize that and instead drive and get to the mid-range is a thing that I think set them apart in this matchup. The starters for the Hive were Sonia, Ezzy, and Kelsey Mitchell. Sonia had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. She was 6 of 16 from the field. Kelsey Mitchell had 13 points, 3 rebounds, was 6 of 13 from the field. Natisha Heidemann had 11 points, 2 assists, and was 4 of 10 from the field. Ezzy had 7 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, and was 3 of 7 from the field. Monique Billings had 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and was 3 of 8 from the field. Ezzy and Monique kind of have similar stat lines a lot, but I'd really like to see them both look for their shot more, especially because they typically work in the mid-range and the post, so they should be getting fouls or just working on their footwork to beat their matchup in the paint and get those easy points. Both of those things have kind of been a struggle for the both of them so far. My other note about the coaching, or if the coaching staff is listening to the podcast, I don't know, girl. You never know you never know who you reach. But Sanaya got 4 minutes and she struggled a bit this game. I think she's a player that kind of needs time to settle into the game at times. And obviously, 3-on-3, you don't really have time for you to get settled sometimes. But I think that her impact on the game when she has more minutes is helpful. So I think that she should be playing more. I think that even just if she's not offering anything offensively, just being able to give your starters rest and have, like, some defensive specialists on the floor at the time who can also make good passes and facilitate well, I feel like that's helpful. So I would really like to see the coach use Sanaya more. She didn't end up playing in the second game that they had this week, but I hope that, whenever she comes back, I hope that everything's fine, first of all. But also, I hope that she's getting more minutes. I feel like right now she's being underutilized at a time when they really need her and kind of really need somebody who is capable of passing and, can kind of switch the momentum of the team. This game, they had 3 players in double digits, but they just have to be more efficient. And it just never looks like an easy performance for them either. They're always like really having to battle for all of the shots that they take and make. I don't know. I just feel like every team kind of has someone who can come in and get buckets or get the energy up or change the momentum of a game. And this team is kind of lacking in that department right now. But I do think that Sanaya is a player who's capable of doing that. And even if you just put her in for like, you know, a one more minute beyond the 4 minutes, or like even if you just like put her in like every now and then for maybe like even like 1 to 2 minute spurts, I think again like what she's able to give you defensively oftentimes will translate to the offensive end as well. And then I have more thoughts on the coaching that I'm going to address in the second game. For the Laces, their starters were Brittney Sykes, Alyssa Thomas, and Jackie Young. What sticks out to me about this game, stat sheets wise, is just like the players coming off the bench and their ability to impact the game. And I honestly felt like they played better than the starters. And I think I'm pretty positive that the stats back that up. And I think that the coach ended up like closing the game with Nas and Maddie on the floor or something like that. But they both just played more minutes than the starters, which I thought was great. And I don't know. I like that the coach for the Laces recognizes that and isn't kind of just like just putting players in and like, having a specific rotation or whatever. He's just like definitely reading the game and paying attention to who's playing well together. And just playing it by ear as he goes. I feel like with the Hive coach, she doesn't really do that. So again, I think that that was like another leg up that they had, which was just coaching experience. For Naz Hillman, she had 16 points, 13 rebounds, and was 6 of 11 from the field. Maddie Segrist had 16 points, 5 rebounds, and was 7 of 9 from the field. Brittney Sykes had 14 points, 6 rebounds, and was 5 of 9 from the field. Jordan Canada had 6 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and Alyssa Thomas had 6 points and 7 rebounds. On Sunday, we had Vinyl versus Mist. The Mist beat the Vinyl 76-71. The Mist started strong at the beginning of the first quarter. Once the second unit came in, you could tell they kind of struggled to get their shots going, and they were also struggling to contest. And because of that, the Vinyl went on a run. Ray Burrell took some great shots. The Mist defense this game looked a little bit sloppy. I think, those defensive lapses allowed the Vinyl to go on a run. And once BG was in the game, it didn't really matter which bigs the Mist put out there. They were all just kind of struggling against her just because of like her size and her physicality. And I think it's kind of tough for Atlanta and Lee to match that. I really liked the Arike, Stewie, and Veronica Burton lineup. They went on a run at the end of the half, and that kept them in the game. The Mist had the lead going into the fourth, but struggled to get rebounds on some of their possessions, and they lost the lead. They ended up getting a take foul, and they went to the free throw line, and that gave them momentum to kind of push through and win the game. But this game versus the Mist was a little bit sloppy, and I'm interested to see kind of how their upcoming matchups, how like if you go back and watch this game, what do you take from it? Was it just an off night, or were there certain things that the Vinyl were doing to kind of make it, to try to make it hard for the Mist? But also I think that for some other teams, they'll kind of struggle with the matchup a little bit more, just because I think this team has a lot of great size and length to it. And so naturally, it's just kind of hard to beat them, but it's definitely possible as we've seen before. So I guess we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks. For the vinyl, their starters were Dearica Hamby, Ryan Howard, and Courtney Williams. Erica Wheeler had 16 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 6 of 10 from the field. I really like this performance from Erica. She also did a great job of like facilitating, and whereas Courtney kind of struggled a bit from the field so far, but she still had a decent game. For Dearica, she had 16 points and 6 rebounds and was 7 of 13 from the field. Ryan Howard had 14 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, was 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 7 from 3. Ray Burrell had 12 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, was 5 of 12 from the field. Courtney Williams had 7 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, was 3 of 8 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. Brittney Griner had 6 points in 2.5 minutes, very impactful 2.5 minutes, and was 3 of 3 from the field. For the Mist, their starters were Veronica Burton, Aliyah Gray, and Brianna Stewart. Aliyah Gray had 27 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, was 10 of 21 from the field, 3 of 9 from 3. A lot of people were very excited about the Ryan and Aliyah matchup. I think what's really great about Aliyah is that, she plays really great defense, and she plays hard on both ends of the floor. And I think, you kind of just saw that this time. Like, she was kind of on Ryan a little bit, but also, she would guard other players, and I feel like she did a great job holding her own against them. Brianna Stewart had 21 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, and was 8 of 13 from the field. This was a really great showing for Brianna, and I think she's played really well this season. Obviously, last season she was hurt, and even like in the WNBA season, she played really well, even coming back from injury. And I don't know, I'm really liking this for her, and I hope that, she's able to keep up this pace of play for the WNBA season if we have one, because obviously, like, a healthy Brianna is like the best Brianna you can have, and you always, believe you can contend if she's playing well. For Enrique, another pretty great game. She had 18 points, 2 rebounds, and was 7 of 12 in the field. Veronica Burton, she only had 4 points this game, but I felt like she did a lot of other things well. She had 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. I don't remember like this game off the top of my head, but I think Alana and Lee just both kind of struggled this game with the speed. And then, I think they have fairly dominant bigs. I think Dearica is a dominant big offensively, and also, she plays on both ends of the floor. And Alana and Lee just kind of struggled with their shots. And then also, just having BG, that size, hard to contain. And then also, they were telling me that Ray Burrell can guard, the 1 through 5. That's what they were telling me on the broadcast. I'm going to need to look into that a little bit more. But like I said, Ray had a good night. So I'm going to let her have that. Next, we have Phantom versus Rose. I don't have the score. I'm pretty sure it was 64-74 or like 74-84. I'm pretty sure it was 74-84. I didn't write it down. I don't know why I didn't. I usually always write it down, but the Rose won this game. I'll be honest, I kind of like wasn't paying attention to this game because this is when I started getting sick. And it was like I didn't know if HBO Max was going to keep the games on there. So I was like, girl, just watch them. And I fell asleep. Then I woke up again and the game was over. But it's okay. I went back and watched the highlights. So I'm locked in. Anyways, Chelsea had a really great comeback game this night after, kind of struggling the game before, which is not in her character for these 3-on-3 games. The Phantom were in the game like the whole time up until the third. Chelsea Gray, she's just cut like that. They were kind of in the game towards the end, but like it was nothing. They didn't have it. They didn't have it. I think the Phantom kind of just are going to have to play like better defense. I'll be honest. I will say that I think the Rose have advantage with their length and their size. This was always kind of going to be a tough matchup for them, but I don't know. I'm interested to see them play each other again. I want to see the rematch on that. I think it's going to be really great. But they were just out rebounded and the Rose were more efficient from the field. But I'm interested to see how, the coach adjusts to that, especially like if they end up going to the playoffs, which I'm pretty sure they're going to the playoffs. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. The starters were Kelsey Plum, Tiffany Hayes, and Aliyah Boston. Aliyah Boston had 17 points, 16 rebounds, and 2 blocks, and was 7 of 19 from the field. Kelsey Plum had 17 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, and was 6 of 13 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. Tiffany Hayes had 16 points, 2 rebounds, and was 5 of 9 from the field. Natasha Cloud had 16 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, and Kiki had 8 points. I feel like everybody showed up well this game, and I had a great time watching it. For the Rose, their starters were Chelsea Gray, Kalia Copper, and Shakira Austin. I thought that was a good move, having Shakira start over I.C.E. And I think that she held her own in the matchup as well. Chelsea had 34 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block, and was 14 of 21 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. This game, I'm not even going to lie to you, was crazy. Chelsea just be throwing anything up and it goes in, okay? She's just a fantastic player to watch. And I think, being able to see her come into this league and dominate on this level and to this scale has been really fun because for the Aces, she obviously plays a role in them winning, a big role because she's the point guard and, she's the one who's kind of setting the pace and, putting everybody in their right positions and making sure that everybody, has the opportunity to shine and to play well. And she puts them in the position to play well. But seeing her dominate at this level, at this caliber, like insane. If you haven't had a chance to watch Chelsea Gray play in 3-on-3, definitely check that out. Kalia Copper had 28 points, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks, and was 11 of 19 from the field. Really great game for Ka, and I'm really glad that Chelsea has somebody else who can kind of come in and, help her with the scoring load. For Shakira Austin, she had 12 points, 6 rebounds, and was 6 of 10 from the field. I.C.E. had 8 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. All right. On Monday, we had Owls versus Hive. I feel like that break was very useful. That Ricola, shout out to Ricola. Oh, also, I didn't get to tell you guys, I built this bookshelf. If you're watching the video version, you can see it. I'm going to post it on my other Instagram account too. The one it doesn't matter. Anyways, I built that myself. Oh my gosh, isn't it amazing? I really ate. As you can see, 1989 is over there on the... Very telling. Anyways, on Monday, these last 2 games, and I can leave. I can stop speaking, okay? Anyways, on Monday, we had Owls versus Hive. The Hive beat the Owls shockingly, okay? 74-73. I was in this Discord thing. We were talking about the game, and before the games came on, I was like, guys, who do we think's winning these 2 matchups, Owls versus Hive and then Breeze versus Laces? And we were all in agreement that the Owls had it. Like, the Owls had it. And we're going to talk about that more. We were all incorrect. And honestly, by the time the game was about to go off, we were like, honestly, like the Hive deserved to win. Like, I'm rooting for the Hive now. We all thought the Owls had it just off the strength, but the Owls want to play sloppy basketball. So, anyways, for me personally, this is where I'm really about to dig in on both of these teams a little bit, okay? This was the perfect matchup, the perfect scenario for this moment to happen. I'm going to start by saying I think that Marina needs to move away from the 3 if it's not falling. Like I said before for the Hive game, I understand why it's happening. It's like because you need to stay in the game. But I would much rather see them take it to the rim or get the foul. Like, you need to take the 2 or get to the free throw line. And, like, them not doing that is honestly very frustrating. I don't really love watching basketball like that. I understand why it's happening because I told y'all that I'm not even going to go there yet. I first want to talk about the Hive coaching staff. I think the head coach just leaves me perplexed at times. Sometimes I question the decision making, and this is just like me as a viewer from like what I'm seeing in the game, like what we're getting when we get to see inside the huddle. This is just me personally. I've talked to some people who agree, and we've had discussions about it. And I will give her a little bit of leniency on some of these things as I discuss them. The first being, I'd also like to add that I think this is the first time she's coached 3-on-3. So I think that, this is also a learning experience for her as well. I don't want it to seem like I'm like ripping into her. When we got into the huddle in this game, at one point, she was asking the players, "What are you seeing?" And that confuses me because, like, theoretically, as a coach, you're supposed to be seeing something and telling me what I need to be doing better. Like I'm the one doing it. I'm playing like this like first person perspective. I need you to be the third person who's seeing everything, and then you tell me what I need to work on. Cause all I'm just doing, so I'm just playing. But I need the coach to see something that I'm not seeing. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I don't feel that the coach is seeing anything that the players aren't seeing. And so that's my one. That's my one. My second is in the huddle as well. Sometimes she just talks about we need to play with pace. That bothers me because, as I've said before in previous episodes, every team is attempting to play with pace because you're trying to get the leg up on your opponent. And if you are, dictating the pace and playing fast, that's great. But the problem is, we're talking about playing with pace, but we also don't really have a point guard to set things up. So when you're saying play with pace, first of all, they're playing fast, and it's like they're not even getting good shots sometimes. But also, I think that this is a team that kind of needs to slow it down sometimes and get the ball moving a little bit more. And I would rather hear her say those things rather than we need to play with pace. Because playing with pace, it's kind of like, okay, well, everybody's doing that. But like, what are we going to do? Like, how are we going to adjust? And also, I've noticed that when they do play with this pace, they be missing shots. They struggle offensively. And I think like they could do better with like settling down a bit, letting things happen. And I think that also she kind of has to figure out like, if you have this certain players in at certain times, are you trying to do you want them to isolate and like be on an island with their defender, or do you want the whole team to be involved? And I think that like so many of their possessions look so different that like we really don't even know. So I don't know. I think that she just needs like a little bit more structure. And then the other thing that I was going to mention, and then I ended up seeing some other things that like I'm gonna give her a pass on this, but like I do want to acknowledge it. At one point in the huddle, I think that she was gonna sub in Natisha for Sonia, and as viewers, a lot of people were kind of like, "Why would you want to take her out while she's hot?" Somebody on Twitter ended up saying like Natisha was really tired and had to use her inhaler, and that's why she was kind of like being like, "Oh, Sonia, I want you in," but Sonia had suggested to her that she let Natisha stay in, like she had gotten them to this point and we needed to ride the hot hand. And again, I'm gonna like let her have that because we don't know what happened there, like for sure. But like she's running on thin ice with me right now. She's running on thin ice, but I'm gonna let her have that. I think also sometimes she just looks a little bit flustered in huddles, and we rarely see her draw anything up on the board sometimes, or like sometimes during the timeouts. I admit sometimes the coaches like they take a little second to get over to the team, but like sometimes I feel like her team like they spend a good bit of timeouts waiting for her to come to them with the game plan. And I think that you can also kind of say the same thing about the Owls as well at certain points. They're coaching themselves too. And I'm not against players coaching themselves because I think that that can be helpful for the roles. Like when you have a Chelsea Gray, like a lot of times she's agreeing with Nola, or like she's pointing something out and then Nola agrees with her. But I think that that's a different dynamic because Chelsea really has like a different eye for the game. Or like even like sometimes Natasha Cloud will like, really like direct and like tell her teammates stuff. And I think that she has a really great high IQ for the game as well. And so like that's where it feels a bit different. But again, like I don't know. I just don't really particularly think that I don't think there's anything wrong with player input. I'm sure that it's appreciated, but sometimes as a viewer, it looks like both of these teams kind of suffer because of that, if that makes sense. Like, I think being tired from playing, like, you need to be able to, like, catch your breath and listen to the coach tell you something. Like, you need to be focused on that, not focused on, the X's and O's, like you coming up with the X's and O's. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And so because of that, I think like sometimes it comes off as like being a little bit unbalanced. But again, that's just like my opinion of like what I'm seeing as a viewer. Obviously I'm not there, like I'm not in the like it's just a confusing situation to look at. And to me personally, these both of these teams are struggling because of that, or because they don't have enough players who can just go out there and get a bucket, or they don't have, or like they're playing heavy minutes and they're tired. So it's on the coach to figure those things out and adjust to those situations. And I'm just interested to see what happens for the next few weeks. But as of right now, like if a trade isn't made, at least for the Owls, I don't see it. I don't see it, but it's okay. Keep your head up. Next season could be different. But moving on with the Hive, I think the holes are present and obvious with this team. And even though they won this game, now it's like, how does the coaching staff address the issues? And I'm interested to see what they do in this upcoming week. I will say that I think if they don't like get it together within the next week, clipped. Call it. Just call it, girl. Anyways, the Owls were kind of giving Hive a chance to win the game, and they inevitably did. They got a bit sloppy. They couldn't hit shots. At some point, they were just trading misses in the third. Towards the end of the third, Natisha went on a run, and her and Kelsey Mitchell shot them back into the game. The Owls, in my opinion, needed to move away from shooting outside. But again, I can understand the need to do that when you don't really have anybody who can come off the bench and help you offensively. So it's really just one of those things. I would like to see the Owls make a trade. This Owls team, as presently constructed, to me is not sustainable. They're just way too reliant on the three. I think, again, like they need to take the two or go to the line. And then them losing this game, like looking back on it, was honestly unacceptable. And they just looked sloppy. The Owls weren't out-coached. I feel like they were just outworked by the other team. Rachel, Rebecca, and Timmy are consistently like just non-factors and aren't really giving us much to work with. And then also, I felt like the stoppage time for this game was pretty bad. Like, it was dragging. I was like, girl, let's wrap it. I was ready for this game to end. I didn't care who won. By the time we got to it, I was like, girl, let's just wrap it up, please. For the Owls, the starters were the usual Rebecca, Marina, and Aliyah. Skylar gave you 27 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 9 of 18 from the field. Marina Mabry gave you 21 points, 8 rebounds, was 8 of 20 from the field, 1 of 9 from 3. Aliyah Edwards gave you 18 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 7 of 12 from the field. Rachel Banham gave you 3 points, 1 rebound. Timmy gave you 2 points and 4 rebounds. Rebecca gave you 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. There have been a few people I've seen on social media kind of talking about the development pool and how, maybe some of those players would be better fits for the team. And honestly, I don't know if I can really say that I disagree with that, but I don't know. This is like a very weird situation. I wasn't expecting this team to actually I was. I wasn't expecting this team to be great or anything, or like to move mountains, but I this we need more. We need more from Rachel, Timmy, and Rebecca, because like this stat line, like that's not good enough. It's not good enough, and plain and simple. And that's all I'm gonna say on that. For the Hive, they didn't have Sanaya this game, but Natisha Heidemann gave you 20 points, 3 rebounds, was 7 of 13 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. Hopefully we can continue seeing, this level of play from her for the upcoming games. And the same with Kelsey and Monique. Kelsey Mitchell gave you 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and was 7 of 15 from the field. Monique Billings gave you 16 points, 14 rebounds, 2 steals, was 5 of 13 from the field, and I was really happy to see her taking more shots this game. And I am very happy and pleased with this double-double. Sonia had 14 points, 4 rebounds, and was 5 of 11 from the field. And Ezzy had 7 points, 6 rebounds, and was 3 of 6 from the field. Lastly, we have the Laces versus Breeze game. This was a very poorly officiated game off the top. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be biased takes, okay? Because I believe that what I saw was bullshit. Yeah. The Laces allegedly beat the Breeze 80-67. I'm going to start, like I said before, by saying this game was poorly officiated. People are going to say that the fans favor Paige too much. But a lot of the calls made this game and the ones that weren't called because the officials swallowed their whistle. I don't know. For me personally, I feel like it's on the officials to set the tone of the game early on. And like, if you're not going to allow for physicality and you're going to call ticky-tack fouls at the beginning of the game, you also need to be calling hard fouls at the end of it then too. And I don't know. I just personally felt like this game was poorly officiated. And to me personally, this is going to sound extremely biased because it is. I don't personally believe that the Laces were the better team in this matchup. They just got the calls when they needed them. I'm a big believer that, you have to be able to play and adjust to the officiating. But when the game isn't officiated, like, consistently throughout the entirety of it, it's impossible to overcome that. And I felt that this game was an example of that. I will admit that the Breeze did struggle with ball security a little bit earlier on in the game. However, Paige being called for like her not even like touching somebody on fouls, like I found that to be ridiculous. I found it to be ridiculous that the Breeze had to use their one challenge on something that the officials should have seen without needing to use the challenge, and I thought that was ridiculous. A.T. not being called for the charge was also asinine. And to that point, I think the way that Alyssa Thomas is officiated at times is very confusing. I don't know. I think that we saw this with the past finals appearance versus the Aces. Like when she doesn't have a favorable whistle and she is called for driving through people's bodies, she's a less impactful player. And, they kind of let her get away with some of that stuff like earlier on. And then because of that, like they didn't call it later on in the game. I thought it was bullshit. And, the officials just have to do better. They're the ones dictating the physicality. And like when things are that blatant and aren't addressed, it makes it a poor viewing experience for the audience. For the Laces, their starters were Brittney Sykes, Alyssa Thomas, and Jackie Young. Brittney Sykes had 31 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and was 13 of 27 from the field. Alyssa Thomas had 19 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 9 of 12 from the field. Naz Hillman had 15 points, 11 rebounds, and was 5 of 14 from the field. Jordan Canada had 10 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and was 5 of 12 from the field. And Jackie had 5 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals. For the Breeze, their starters were Paige, Dominique Malonga, and Kate because Rakia's out. And then I think Kiana Williams was their development pool player who came in. But Paige had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 1 steal, and was 7 of 16 from the field. Dominique had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and was 8 of 13 from the field. Cameron Brink had 11 points, 6 rebounds, 4 blocks. Kate had 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and was 4 of 12 from the field. And Kiana had 6 points and 4 rebounds. Here are my week 4 predictions, and we can all go. I'm gonna drink a little water first. I'm starting to sound my worst. Friday, we have 2 games in Philly. I hope anybody going to those games has a great time, and maybe they'll be able to jump around and bounce around to some other locations again next season. So we have Breeze versus Phantom. I think that's going to be a good matchup. I'm interested to see how Dom and Cameron do versus Aliyah Boston and Kiki, but also to see how the guards are affected by the length of this team because we've seen them kind of struggle with that versus the Rose earlier. But I'll be rooting for the Breeze. But I think it's just going to be a fun game to watch regardless of who wins. And I really just have enjoyed watching Kelsey and Paige play against each other. And I'm interested to see what happens on Friday. And then we have Rose versus Owls. I think the Rose will easily beat them if they do stand a chance if the Owls stand a chance of, staying in the game. It's going to be up to the coach and, what he's requiring from those other 3 players. Because if, Marina, Aliyah, and Skylar have to kind of keep going out there and putting in that amount of effort over that extended period of time, again, I just don't know if that's sustainable. And depending on how their defense is, they're going to be very easy to beat. On Saturday, we have Hive versus Mist. The Mist, I think, are going to win this one. They've been on a roll lately and seem to have things figured out. But I think, again, it's one of those things where I think the Hive can win on any given night if she makes the right adjustments and, kind of just goes in with the solid game plan, but also is willing to adjust that game plan, as the game goes on. Then we have Laces versus Vinyl. I think the Laces are going to win, but I've really liked Brittney Griner's minutes so far, where she's played a little bit more heavily. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. But if the Vinyl do want to win, it's going to be up to Courtney and Erica. But I think this could be a good game for the both of them to kind of, go deep in their bags a little bit and get to the rim, make it tough on their defenders and everything. So I'm interested to see that game, but I think the Laces are going to win that one. But I think it's going to be a good matchup. On Sunday, we have Phantom versus Owls. The Phantom, I think, are winning. It's going to be interesting because Skylar has really helped them out a lot these games. But again, I think it just depends on how the Owls show up defensively and, how much help those 3 players get from the other 3. Then we have Breeze versus Rose. If I recall correctly, the last time they played, the Rose won, but it wasn't by much. I think it was by 1 possession or something. So if Rakia is healthy and if they're able to kind of slow down Chelsea or Ka, I think it's definitely going to be hard to do both of those things. But they were in the last matchup, so I'm interested to see what the adjustments are going to be. But if they can slow down one of them and if Rakia's healthy, I think they stand a good chance of winning. But I think if Paige can also stay out of foul trouble as well as Cameron, I think they have a really good shot at winning the game. And I think also last time, Paige was kind of getting hunted a little bit on defense. So, it's really going to be up to other people to kind of, make Paige's job a little bit easier. And I'm interested to see whether or not Paige is going to be hunting for that shot because I think the last time they played each other, that was the game where I really wanted to see more offensively from Paige. And she wasn't super aggressive in the first half of the game. She was a little bit more aggressive the second half, but I'm interested to see what happens there. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't know who I think is going to win, but I'm going to be rooting for the Breeze. On Monday, we have Vinyl versus Hive. I think the Vinyl are going to win this one. If Sanaya isn't playing or doesn't get many minutes, I think it's going to be it's going to be interesting. I think that these are I won't say evenly matched teams because I think that who's the other big besides Brittney? Oh, I think De'Erica and Brittney are just very dominant bigs, and Monique can be dominant, but Ezzy is kind of one of those players who I really like to see her more dominant. I really like to see her more aggressive, but I think that if both of them play up to that level, I think they could be in the game and they could win. So I don't know. I think it's gonna be an interesting matchup, but I'll be excited to see how the Vinyl size matches up with the Hive. And, they're just kind of starting to figure things out a little bit, the Vinyl, I mean. And they're good at staying in games, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Lastly, we have Miss versus Laces. I think this is going to be a good matchup. I'll be rooting for the Mist, but I think Veronica, Lee, and Alana, they're going to need to have good games from the floor in order for the Mist to win. Just because the Laces are more like, you know, they score more. They're a more highly offensive minded team who can also play hard on the defensive end, and they're also really fast. So I'm interested to see the matchup, and I'm excited to see it. I don't think the usual players going off like Alicia Gray, like Brianna Stewart, is going to be enough for them to win this matchup. So, especially I think the last time it went down to the wire and like, it came down to some like foul calls here and there and the Miss ended up winning the game if I recall correctly. Or did the Laces beat them? I don't really remember. But that was a really good game. So I know this one's going to be really good. But also, Jackie kind of didn't have like her typical week this past week. So I don't know. I think it just depends. It just depends on how Jackie shows up and how the others show up for the Mist. But I'm excited for the games this upcoming week. And I appreciate you guys for listening and sticking with me if you did. I know my voice was like a lot. Don't make fun of me though, because that's not cool. Anyways, if you did listen, I appreciate you. Please get in the comments, share your opinions, like, subscribe. Check out the links that I have below about Minnesota if you're interested in learning more about the situation and being more educated on it. But I'll see you guys next week, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye.